So what is a patent? Patent is an intellectual property right which is used for protection of inventions. So invention is an intellectual property, and this intellectual property is to be protected by patent. Right? So intellectual property of invention is protected by right of patent. And how should that invention be? That invention should be related to new product, or it should be related to new process, and this new product or new process should be novel in nature, like it is not anticipated before. And remember that abstract ideas cannot be patented. What is an abstract idea? Like I was saying, that if suppose I decide that I have come with an idea such that I will be having a bicycle, which by merely paddling the bicycle, I will be reaching to the moon, right? So that is an abstract idea. Such abstract ideas cannot be patented, right? The idea should be able to manifest as a product or a process. So whatever is your idea, that idea should be manifested in certain form of technology, and that technology should be able to deliver a product, or that technology should be able to deliver a process. Then it should be an inventive step. Inventive step in the sense it should be non-obvious, right? And what is an inventive step? Inventive step is some kind of enhancement in the terms of efficiency, or enhancement in the terms of cost. Like you should be able to reduce the cost, or you should be able to increase the efficiency if the product is already existing, right? So if the product is already existing, and if you come with an invention of that particular product, like if you come with a slight modification of that particular product, then the newly developed product should be able to give you some kind of benefits that were not attainable by the previous invention, right? And it should be capable of industrial application. So what is an industrial application? Like it should be, or we should be able to make number of replications out of it. Like suppose if I come with a certain product or process जिसके मैं 2-3 ही copy बना सकता हूँ, right? So that won't be patentable. It should be able to, or it should be manufactured in number of replications, right? So, and it is not necessary that every time the invention should be novel, or the invention was never existing before, like you have seen in the video that I played now. Like the improvements over the existing products or processes can also grant you a patent. Now the next thing is, what are the things that can be patentable? Now you have a certain idea and you want to patent it, right? Now the first thing you should see that your idea should not fall into the statutory exceptions. Means there are certain exceptions by the government of India which cannot be patented. Like atomic energy is one thing. If you come up with a certain kind of invention in atomic energy, you cannot patent that. Apart from this, there is a long list of things which cannot be patented that I'll be discussing in subsequent slides, right? So again, your patent should be a novel one. Your invention should have an inventive step, and it should be capable of industrial application. So if you satisfy all these criteria, only then you can apply your invention, or you can protect your intellectual property of invention by patent. It should not fall under the exceptions decided by the government of India, or by the Intellectual Property Office of India, right? And it should be novel in nature. It should have an inventive step, and it should be capable of industrial application. Now let us look into what can be patented, right? So patents can be filed only in the field of technology. Patents cannot be filed in the field of art, or in the field of integrated circuits, or in the field of designs, right? Patents can be filed only in the field of technology. So the field of technology is a very important word you should keep in mind if you are willing to file a patent. In other words, technology specific things can only be patented, right? So patents can be granted only for an invention that pertains to a field of technology. So the field of technology is very important, because if there is no field of technology, then a patent cannot be granted. And patents are technology specific in the sense that patents can only be granted for technological invention. The same thing we have written in 3 different sentences, so that I keep on stressing on the word technology, and you remember that you can file a patent only if it is pertaining to the domain of technology, right? Now what happens is that in a patent office also, there are experts of different fields. Suppose you have an idea, or you have an invention. That invention you have manifested in a certain product, or you have manifested in a certain process, and you are filing a patent. So that patent will be examined by the experts in that field. Suppose you are filing a patent in the field of textile technology, right? So in the patent office, there will be examiners who will be expert in the field of textile technology and who will be going through your application. They will be able to better understand what are the terminologies that you are using, what are the textile terminologies you are using. They will be able to relate whether such kind of thing existed in the past or whether the application is definitely novel or whether the application has the industrial application or whether your application is non-obvious in nature. So if a person is expert in that field, only then he can judge whether or only then he can examine whether your application is patentable or not. In fact, that is what is mentioned here. The patent office is designed in a way in which they have a group of examiners who have skills in a particular technology, analyzing and examining patent applications that come from different fields. So if you file a patent application in biotechnology, then it will be examined by a group of examiners in biotechnology. If you find a patent application in textile technology, it would be examined by a different set of examiners. Okay. Now, as I was saying that there are certain kind of inventions that cannot be patented, right? So let us look into the things which cannot be patented. First thing is inventions contrary to natural laws, right? Are the slides changing, Shubham?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So inventions contrary to natural laws, in the sense, suppose I come up with a perpetual motion machine. I'm saying that I'll come up with a perpetual motion machine. So what is a perpetual motion machine? Means perpetual motion machine is a machine in which if I apply a energy source only once, it will infinitely continue to do its function, right? That means the energy that I have supplied, that energy will be able to sustain that machine in a running condition for an infinite period of time. Like there won't be loss of any energy once imparted, right? So that is a perpetual machine. And such kind of machine cannot exist in nature. It is contradictory to the first and second law of thermodynamics. Okay. So if the inventions are contrary to the natural laws, like a perpetual motion machine cannot exist in nature, then such idea won't be entertained or such machine or such idea cannot be patented, right? So perpetual motion machine is a hypothetical machine that can do work infinitely without an energy source. This kind of machine is impossible as it violates the first and second law of thermodynamics. That is what I was discussing, right? Now we will look into the second point, that is inventions contrary to public order or morality, right? So the inventions which are violating the public order or which are violating the morality, such inventions cannot be patented, right? Because such inventions can cause damage to life, health and environment. Now there was an earlier patent. I will give you an example. The example is of an Harvard Onco mouse. So what was an Onco mouse? Onco mouse was genetically modified mouse, right? And the mouse was genetically modified in such a way that it was susceptible to cancer. यानी उसको कैंसर बड़ी आसानी से हो जाता था. Then such mouse was used for cancer research studies. Even today, this mouse is used for cancer research study, right? Now this Onco mouse, which was genetically modified, was granted a patent in United States, right? But similar patent, when it was applied in Europe, it was rejected, right? So it is different in different countries, right? So inventions contrary to public order or morality cannot be patented. So Harvard Onco mouse is an example of such an invention which was granted in US but not in Europe. Then if your invention is a mere discovery and it is not an actual invention, then it won't be granted a patent, right? So this, what is discovery and what is invention, we have discussed in the first class, right? Then admixture. Admixture means suppose you come up with 4 or 5 different chemicals and if you mix them and you say that I'm getting the advantageous property of each of the individual constituent of a mixture, right? Like admixture is a mere aggregation of properties, right? And then it cannot be granted a patent. What is the aggregation? Like 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. सबको पता है कि ये मैं mix करूंगा तो सबकी properties क्या होती, सबकी जो advantageous properties है वो combine होके I will be getting more benefits, right? But such which is in obvious in nature, anyone can do that. So such mere aggregation, that is, you know that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, will not be granted a patent. But if you mix the things in such a way that you can get a synergistic effect. What is the synergistic effect? In simple terms, 2 plus 2 is equal to 5, right? If you are mixing the chemicals, right, And if you are getting the properties which are not anticipated, which are not expected, then such admixture can be granted a patent. Method of testing a certain thing cannot be granted a patent. Inventions pertaining to arrangements. Now what happens is that suppose I have 4 or 5 different machines, and if I place them one after the another, first machine, second machine, and all the machines are independently working of each other, no one is dependent on each other, and I am saying that, see, I have designed a new process, right? Then that thing cannot be patented. But if the machines are arranged in such a way that their working is interdependent on each other, then in that case the patent can be granted. Method of agriculture or horticulture is, such methods cannot be patented. Method of medical treatment of human and animals cannot be patented, because we want all the humans and all the animals should be getting the equal right for a medical treatment. It should not be protected by someone else, and it should be for the benefit of each and every individual. And similar is the agriculture and horticulture, because a lot of people depend on agriculture and horticulture. If someone patents it, then he will be having an exclusive right over it for 20 years, right? So that should not be a thing. Plant and animal varieties, if you discover some plant and animal varieties and you say that you are going to patent it, then that is not possible, but microorganisms are excluded from that thing. Softwares cannot be patented, right? Literary, dramatic, musical or artistic work, this falls under the different category of intellectual property right, that is a copyright, and thereby it cannot be protected by a patent. Similarly, topography of integrated circuits, it is again protected by a different intellectual property right, and therefore it cannot be protected by patent. What is that? We will see in the next classes. Then traditional knowledge. What is the traditional knowledge? Traditional knowledge is a already known knowledge traditionally. Now what happened is that in US there were companies which were filing the patent for benefits of haldi and neem in medical applications. Like they were saying that haldi and neem are having the very good healing properties, right? And what they did is that they filed a patent. The US office also granted them the patent, but later on they started suing the Indian companies who were using the haldi and neem for the medicinal purposes, right? But then the Indian Patent Office came up and said that in India it is traditionally known, since ancient times it is known that haldi as well as neem are having the medical benefits, right? So they have good healing powers. It is already traditionally well established in India, and how can you file a patent for that, and how can you grant a patent for that, right? And thereby there was a certain amount of hearing, and finally the United States Patent Office had to revoke that patent, right? So if the things are traditionally known, it is well established, then such things cannot be patented, right? And as I was saying, inventions relating to atomic energy, if you come up with some invention in atomic energy, that things cannot be patented. And remember, even if you get a patent in atomic energy, then there are certain criteria based on which that patent can be revoked. Then the next thing is who can apply for patent, right? Now we have seen what can be patented, what cannot be patented. Before that, we have seen what is the definition of patent and what is actually a patent. Patent is nothing but an intellectual property right, which is protecting the intellectual property of invention. What is an invention? An invention should manifest in the form of a product or a process, right? And an invention should relate to a technology. It cannot be related to artistic work. It cannot be related to a product that is originating from a certain geographical condition, or it cannot be allotted to a certain very nicely artistic design which is pleasing to your eye, right? It is specifically related to technology. Okay, so now we'll be discussing on who can apply for a patent, right? Now, as we mentioned that the inventor is the person who creates the invention, and he is the person who is entitled to apply for a patent. Suppose if I come with an idea of a certain invention, right, then I will be the inventor of that patent and I can apply for a patent, right? But suppose if a group of people work together and group of people come together with an idea, which is usually the case, then the patent will be granted to the complete group of individuals, right? All of them will be treated as the inventors of a particular patent. The word first inventor of the invention is important. Now this can be either an individual or it can be a group of people. So their names figure in filing in a patent application as the inventor. So if you see a patent application, at the top of the patent application, you will be seeing that you can go today and see the Indian patent or a US patent. You will be finding that specifically inventors is a word that is written, and the individual inventor or the group of inventors, each and every one of them, their name is mentioned in the patent, right? So their names figure in filing in a patent application as the inventors. Now a true and first inventor can apply for a patent. A patent can also be applied by an assignee of the true and first inventor. Now what does this mean is that, suppose now I'm working in a certain company, right? I am an employee of that company and there is a certain employer of that company. Okay. Now when I join a company or I sign a contract with a company, there is a clause in your signing contract that if you come up with a certain invention or if you come up with a certain patent, then the employer will be having the exclusive rights over your patent. The owner of the company will be having the exclusive right over your patent, and your name will be simply mentioned in that patent, right? The employer will enjoy all the monetary benefits or any other benefits that are arising from the grant of a patent, right? The employee cannot claim any kind of right over the patent, but his name will be mentioned as an inventor in the patent. Okay. So now the first inventor may invent the invention, right? Like I am an employee of a particular company, then I may invent the invention, and but I will have to assign that invention. I will have to give away that invention to my employer or owner of the company. Right now, you will understand an assignee as a person who takes the invention and files it and prosecutes it at the patent office. Like my employer, though I have invented a certain kind of a thing, a certain kind of a process or a certain kind of a product, right? The employer or the owner of my company will be taking away that invention from me. He will be looking after filing the patent and prosecuting the patent in the patent office, right? So in most cases, employees who work for an organization, say a company or a research organization, do not own the invention. So if I work in a certain company, I cannot own an invention, right? The owner of the company or the employer of the company, employer of the employee can claim the invention. The terms of their employment, right? While when you enter a certain company, you will be getting a offer letter, right? After that, you'll be getting an official appointment letter. So when you get an appointment letter and when you look into the terms and conditions of the appointment letter, it will be clearly mentioned that if you come up with a certain kind of an invention, then the employer of the company, right, or the owner of the company will be having the exclusive rights to the benefit of the invention. So the terms of their employment will say that the invention shall be owned by the organization which employs them. Then, so when an employee comes up with an invention, the employee's name figure as the inventor's name, right? That is what I was saying. As I'm an employee of a certain company, my name will only figure as an inventor's name, whereas the applicant will be the company itself. The company will be applying the patent. It will be looking into all the legal ways of filing a patent, right? If there is some query on the patent, it will be company who will be completely dealing with it. And if the patent is sanctioned, then the owner of the company or the employer will be enjoying the benefits of the patent for period of 20 years. Okay. So you can see two different positions which people employ with regards to patent. So if there is a patent in an industry, then there are two different owners. One is employee and other is employer. But there is a clear-cut distinction that employees only name will be included in the patent, whereas all the benefits arising from the filing of a patent and grant of a patent will be enjoyed by the employer. One, you are shown as an inventor, like one you are shown as an inventor means the employee is shown as an inventor, which could be the employee, and there is a status of as the applicant itself, who the person who owns the patent, who files the patent, takes care of all the expenses for the patent to get granted. even so who is the here? Sorry, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So can you see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Right. So that is what I was saying, that if you work in a certain organization, then the right of the patent is the authority of the employer, and employees only merely the name will be included. He cannot claim anything. Like I can give you one example of this also. Like this is also applicable in another aspect, but not related to patent, but it comes under the category of copyright. I will tell you an example. Like suppose if I write a research paper, you might have heard about different publishing houses like Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, right, Springer, right. तो ये सारी जर्नल्स आप देखना आपके हमारे लाइब्रेरी में भी है, आप वहां जाके देख सकते हो. So these are the publication houses, different publication houses, right? And when I submit a paper to them, when I submit either a research article to them, remember we are not speaking about patent, I am speaking about a similar example in copyright. When I submit a research paper to them or when I submit a review paper to them, then such research paper and review paper becomes the exclusive copyright of that publishing house, right? I cannot claim any authority over that uh, over that manuscript that I have submitted to a publication house if it is accepted for publication. My name will be there in that paper, okay, but that is the limit of my hold in that on that paper, okay. Then if someone buys that paper, you go and see and you try to buy a paper from Springer or from Taylor and Francis, you will see that it is in like hundreds of dollars, right? So whatever monetary benefits, if someone buys your paper, all the monetary benefits will be going to the publishing house like Taylor and Francis, Springer or Elsevier, right? You won't be getting any kind of money out of it or any kind of monetary benefits out of it. Only thing is you will be getting a credit for publishing a certain review article or research article in such a reputed journal or such a reputed publication house. Okay, so this was a similar example in copyright as we are discussing to that in the patent. Okay. So in case where the inventor himself or herself is the applicant, then there is no assignment involved because the inventor also became the applicant. Now, if you carefully look at the patent, right? So what I was speaking is that if you are an independent inventor, then your name will be there as an inventor. But if you are working for a certain organization, तो वहाँ पे दो अलग-अलग चीजें होगी. First is there will be name of an inventor. Also, it will be assigned to, right? The patent will be assigned to, and then there will be the name of that particular company, right? So you will go and try to figure out these things in different patents today. Okay. So in cases where the inventor is not the applicant, there is a need for an assignment. If the inventor is the applicant, then there is no need. But if the inventor is not the applicant, then there is a need for an assignment, right? So this assignment, now this assignment is the way by which you can legally pass on an invention from one person to another. So that you have to legally pass your invention to your employer. The ownership of an invention is passed on to another entity or another person. Employees, normally their terms of employment will say, like that is what I was speaking, like if you see your appointment letter, in that there will be terms of employment and it will be clearly stated that any invention you come up with during the course of employment which involves a part of their work will be assigned to the employer, and employee cannot claim anything over it because employee is being paid for it. तुमको already उसके monetary benefits मिल रहे हैं, तुमको salary मिल रही है monthly, right? So whatever invention you come up with, the employer will have an exclusive authority over it to enjoy the monetary benefits. So an assignment can be by way of an employment contract or they can be a specific document of assignment. So this is in law referred to as proof of right, right? So by proof of right, the employee will have to transfer his invention to the employer. So if you need to be an applicant, you need to demonstrate by what proof you are claiming the status of an applicant, right? So what happens is that suppose if a company files a patent towards a Indian Patent Office, then he will also have to show a proof of right that I am filing this patent, but I am not the inventor of this patent. The inventor of this patent is my employee, but because of terms and conditions that have been put through in the appointment letter, I can claim that this is the patent which should be assigned to my firm, right? So you are claiming the status of an applicant by what? By proof of right. So if you are an inventor, there is no need for proof of right, because if you have come up, if you are an independent individual who is not serving any particular company, then there is no proof of right. But if you are working for a certain organization, then there is a proof of right because the inventor itself came up with the invention. If you are not the inventor, then you require a proof of right. The proof of right can be assignment deed, wherein the inventor assigns the invention to the assignee. So an applicant can be a true or first inventor, or it can be an assignee, or it could also be a legal representative of the true and first inventor or the assignee. So first you have the true and first inventor can apply for a patent. In case the true and first inventor is not the applicant, then the person to whom the invention is assigned becomes the applicant, right? Like your employer will become an applicant. Now, suppose if someone has come up with an invention and before filing the patent he dies, right? Or if the invention is supposed to be filed by means of an employer, and if the employer of the company dies, then in that case what happens? See, it is mentioned. And the third category, there are three categories. The first category, what we saw is you are inventor itself, you are inventor on your own, so you can file a patent. Second, you are working in a certain company, then your company will file a patent, and you cannot file a patent for that, but your name will be included. Third is the legal representative of any deceased person. Deceased means if the person is dead, any deceased person who was the true and first inventor or who was an assignee, right? So if someone dies and his invention is then legally inherited by the legal representative of that person. So it can be either an individual or it can be either a firm for which you are working. Now these are the three categories, only who can apply, in what capacity the person can apply. Now we have seen that these are the three categories of the people who can apply, but in what capacity can they apply, right? So if you are an inventor, you can go yourself and represent yourself in the Indian Patent Office, but it is a professional job and for which expertise is required. So usually there are people who are known as patent agent, right? So usually the patent agent will file your patent to the Indian Patent Office. They will be working as an intermediate person between you and the Indian Patent Office. If some certain queries are raised by Indian Patent Office, then they will be cleared by means of a patent agent who has expertise in it, right? The patent agent, he passes the examination which is held by the central government of India, right? So whatever examination is there, that examination is cleared, and after clearing that examination, he is also trained so that he can put up or file a patent in front of the Indian Patent Office. He can be legal representative of the people who are willing to file a patent, right? So who can apply for a patent? So this is what we are continuing. Now we discussed that in what capacity can one apply. He can apply individually or he can have a proper representative for him. So for filing and prosecuting patents, you need a special listed agent who are called as the patent agent. The patent agent are people who have a background degree in science and technology and who have cleared the patent agent examination conducted by the central government. Okay. So these are the people who have expertise in that field, and they will be better able to represent your patent to the Indian Patent Office or your invention to the Indian Patent Office. It is not yet patent, right? So now the patent agent examination tests proficiency in patent law. So what does that examination test? It tests the proficiency in patent law, and it also ensures that the people who clear the examination can draft and file patents before the Indian office. So for filing and prosecuting patents, you need a specialist who is called as the patent agent. So that we have discussed. It is again. So I think these slides are repeated again, right? Okay. So the patent agent will be the point of contact between the inventor or the applicant and the patent office. I said you that he will be acting as an intermediate person between the patent office and the inventor. Now, there is also provision that the inventor can himself represent to the Indian Patent Office. So this provision brings out the distinction between the capacity of an inventor and the capacity of an applicant. As an inventor, you have a right to be denoted, you have a right to be mentioned as an inventor regardless of whether you own the invention. If you own or if you do not own the invention, but if you have invented that invention, right, then your name will be mentioned as an inventor in the patent application. Say an employee in an organization comes out with an invention, so it is the same thing that we are repeating again, but the invention is assigned to the company or the employer. It is not assigned to the employee. And the employer becomes the applicant. So the employer will be filing the patent, filing the application for the invention which is invented by the employee, and files the patent and gets a grant. Now every commercial gain that comes out of this invention becomes the exclusive right of the employer. The employee is not given any share because the employee is already paid as a reimbursement in the form of salary. The terms of employment has already covered the remuneration for coming up this invention, right? Now, regardless of the gains that an employer will make out of this invention, and the fact that every benefit that flows out of the invention will solely be enjoyed by the employer, and the employer will still have to show the employee as an inventor. What he can do is he can enjoy all the possible monetary benefits. He can use that patent for the production of his process or for the production of his product for a duration of 20 years without giving any credit to the employee for that, but he will have to mention the name of the employee as an inventor in the patent application. So the right to be mentioned as an inventor is a right that the person who came up with the invention enjoys. So nobody can disentitle a person from a person's right to be mentioned as an inventor. So what does this mean is that this means that the company cannot remove your name from the patent. As you have invented the thing, you have the right to see your name on the patent application, right? So whenever an inventor assigns the right in an invention, the inventor will still have the right to be mentioned as the inventor. So this is similar to the moral right of an author of a research or a review paper. So this point I have already discussed, right? If you are an author of a research or review paper, this is in terms of a copyright, not in terms of a patent, then you can submit a paper to a particular publication house, and if your paper is accepted in that journal, then you will be getting a credit for publication in that journal. You can show it to different organizations that you are applying for job, that I have publications in this journals, and these journals belongs to this publication house, and this has such an high impact factor. So you can claim all kind of things, right? But the authority of publication of the number of copies, or the authority of selling that paper, or whatever the monetary benefits that are received by the purchase of that paper, you won't be getting anything of that. You will simply be able to put it into your resume, and you can claim it at different publications, claim it at different job opportunities, that you have been author of a paper in this publication or in this journal, and this is the publication house for that paper. Okay, so we'll be stopping here. Today only we'll be discussing on, or we have discussed only on, who can apply for a patent, and what can be patented, what cannot be patented, what is the things that are falling under the category of patentability, and what is a patent, right? So do you have any doubts? So if you have any doubts, we can discuss the doubts. Otherwise, I will take the attendance. So for this video, I won't be giving any recorded file or YouTube link for this. So this video I have recorded online, right? So if you want to study regarding this video, then you can directly see this recording. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can ask me. So we did not discuss too many things here today. We have discussed only on what is patent, what is an invention, what the invention should consist of. It should consist of like novelty in the sense the thing that your invention is not anticipated before, right? Then we have seen what things can be patented, like it should be related to technology, right? And then we have seen what things cannot be patented. There is a long list of things that cannot be patented. Then we have seen some interesting examples of Haldi, Neem, as well as a Harvard mouse, right? Onco mouse. And then we saw about who can file a patent, right? It can be an inventor, right? If you are an individual inventor, you can file a patent on your own. What happens if you are working for a certain company and if you file a patent or if you come up with an invention, then how that patent is filed by your employer and what are the benefits that the employer will receive and what are the benefits that the employee will be receiving. So these are the only things that we discussed. So is it okay? Right. So what I will be doing is that I will be ending this meeting now, right? Now I would like to tell you that this is my last lecture for this class. Okay. I have received a better opportunity in another place, so I won't be continuing with DKT. Okay. So from next class, these lectures on intellectual property rights will be conducted by Ashwini Rai Bagi madam. Okay. Thank you so much.